Hello guys. So the next question we want to deal with is question 8. That is question 8. This question that we have here, that is question 8. And so it's a question on polynomial. So now I'm going to start by just explaining the basics for to us, right? So basically, if I write f of x, right? So this is a function, right? This is a function. So the function is, so it will be a function of a variable. So now the variable here is x. So this function is a function of variable x. It is a function of variable x. So now if I want to write an expression for this now, so I can write, okay, this fx, I can give it a structure. So I can say fx is equals to x raised to power 3, right? That is the structure. I can say f of x equals to x raised to power 3 plus 1. That's the structure. I can say f of x is equals to ax squared plus b. That's another structure. Now take note here that here we have a and b. So but the function still remains it still remains, the variable here still remains x because of this x that we have inside here. So it's telling us that the x that we have inside here is telling us that the variable here is x actually, right? So this a and b here, they are just constants, where this a here is the coefficient of x squared and this b here is a constant term, right? So let's move on. So um okay, so now that's what we have. So that's what we mean by function, right? So for a function, we always have the variable that we're talking about, maybe function of x, function of t, whatever. So and so moving on to the next thing that we need to know as regards this. So now the next thing is that now we always have inputs and outputs right? We always have inputs and outputs. So now let's look at this. For example, if I write that f of x is equals to let's say 2x. For example, this is a very simple function. F of x equals to 2x. So now when x equals to 1, if I choose when x equals to 1, that is the variable, right? So what happens? That means this x equals to 1, right? That will equals to 2 to bracket 1, and that is 2. This implies that what? So this at everything, I can just simply write f of 1. Since x is equals to 1, right? So I can just write f of 1. So that means f of 1 equals to 2, right? So then what about if I was to find f of 2? So I already know that f of 2 simply means that what? X is equals to 2. So that means I'm going to put 2 into this, right? Into what f of x is. So that means x equals to 2. So I have, so that will be 2 into bracket 2, and that equals to 4. So this implies that since I have that f of x is equals to 2x, then whenever x equals to a, so whenever x equals to a, I will have f of a, right? Which equals to 2a, because x is equals to, so where x here, a has replaced it, right? So that is the essence. So whenever x equals to a, we are going to have f of a equals to 2a. So that is the whole concept behind this. Now if you look at the question that we actually have, that we've been given, right? So let's go back to the question that we've been given. Sorry, I have to erase this. And so now let's move on to the question now. So look at this question. Now this is the expression, right? Ax squared plus bx. So we can just say, okay, since we have that, then so that means our f of x here now is ax squared plus bx, right? Ax squared plus bx. Now we have been given that takes the value, that means it is 6 when x is equals to 1, and it is 10 when x is equals to 2. So we have to find it when x equals to 5. So all of this, I'm going to break everything down, right? I'm going to break it down. So now this is what we've been told. That means they said when x is equals to 1. So when x is 1, that means we are going to have 1 when x is equals to 1, right? We are going to have f of 1, and they said it is equals to 6, right? They also said that when we have x to be 2, right, we have it to be 10. Then now we are asked to find what f of 5, what f of 5 will be. And in fact, that is the question we asked. What is f of 5? Now, recall that the expression is what? F of x is equals to ax square, ax square plus bx, right? So definitely, f of 5 will equals to a into bracket 5 square plus b into bracket 5. So which equals to a into bracket 25 plus, so this is 25 plus b, or let's say plus 5b, and that equals to 25a plus 5b, and that is what f of 5 will be. So but if you look at the option that we've been given, the answers we have here, they are not in terms of a and b, right? So that means the value of a and b are already determined. So that means for us to know the actual value of f of 5, before we can know the actual value of f of 5, we have to know the value of a and b, and that is why that is the essence of this information that we have here, right? F of 1 equals to 6 and f of 2 equals to 10. So now I'm going to make use of this now. So by saying that, so we know that f of 1 means we are going to substitute 1, right? So that means we have a into bracket 1 raised to the power of 2 plus b into bracket 1, and we are being told that it is equals to 6, right? So you can just consider this side of the equation and move on with our work. So we have that since 1 raised to power 2 is 1 times a is a, and b times 1 is also b, so we have a plus b equals to 6. So that forms, let's say, equation 1. And also we know that f of 2 will be a into bracket 2 raised to the power of 2 plus b into bracket 2, and we're being told that it equals to that is 10, right? So again, we consider this side of the equation. So we have, so 2 raised to power 2, 2 raised to power 2 is 4, so that means we have 4a, right, plus this one is 2b plus 2b equals 10, and this be our equation 2, right? So now from equation 1, right, so we're going to solve it simultaneously, but let me bring them together. So we have a plus b equals 6, and 4a plus 2b equals 10, right? Actually here we can divide through by 2 here, so that we are going to get 2a plus b equals to 5, right? So that means what we have here, we can actually write it as this when we divide through by 2, right? So that means I'm just going to write this, and so just hold on. So I just bring this to this side here. All right, so we have 2a plus b equals to 5 now, right? So now this is equation 1 and this is equation 2. So I can just from 1 you can just solve simultaneously. So from equation 1 we can see that b is equals to 6 minus a, right? B equals to 6 minus a, so we can put it in equation 2. So substitute b equals to 6 minus a into equation what? Into equation 2. So we have, so since we have that equation 2 says 2a plus b equals to 5, right? For equation 2. So, and we already know that b is 6 minus a. So anywhere we see b, I'm going to replace it with 6 minus a equals to 5. And then, so expanding this bracket, we have 2a plus 6 minus a equals to 5. So 2a minus a is a. Then we have a plus 6 equals 5. And we have a equals to 5 minus 6, which equals to minus 1. Sorry, let me just write it this way. So that means a is equals to minus 1. So since a is equals to minus 1, and from this equation that we have here, from this one that we have here, b is just 6 minus a, right? B is 6 minus a. So now that means we already know that b is equals to 6 minus a. So this implies that what b is equals to 6 minus 1. And this implies that b is equals to 6 plus 1. So this implies that b is equals to 7, right? So b equals to 7. Alright, b equals to 7. So now that means a equals to minus 1 and b equals to 7. So now don't forget that now what is our f of 5 that we want to actually find? Our f of 5 is 25a plus 5b. So f of 5 um f of 5 is equals to 25a plus 5b. So we know that a is equals to 1 and b is equals to 7. So I'm just going to substitute that. That is equals to 25 bracket minus 1 plus 5 into bracket that is 7. That is equals to minus 25 plus 35, and that is equals to 10. So f of 5 is equals to 10. So when that means when s equals to 5, ax square plus bx is equals to 10, right? So that is what we have, and that's our final answer. So our answer is 10.